So, I'm going to give a little bit of a clinical breakdown of the alternative space, and then I am going to suggest to you what I focus on that helps me really connect with the alternative space in a way that helps me to feel like I understand the alternative space and I have a closeness to it and a connection to it that helps me in creating my own reality. This is a big, ambiguous concept. I mean, the alternative space is pretty much everything that is outside of us, the infinite, the vast, infinite environment outside of us. So we can get lost a little bit to this concept if we don't dial it in a little bit closer to home and make it a little bit more user-friendly, if you will. So again, I am going to read my clinical breakdown of it, and then I'm going to suggest to you sort of the need to know. So the objective of this lesson is to familiarize you with the theoretical background of our entire reality known as the alternative space. At the end of this lesson, you will have a better understanding of this concept and why Vadim Zeland chooses this knowledge as the starting point for the reality transurfing modality. We will also be speaking about the sub-concepts of choice as well as lifelines or life tracks, depending on the translation that you are familiar with. Let's start with the fact that all forms through which our reality is manifested must have an origin, a place where the multitude of variations exists. It is highly unlikely that nature is keeping these formulas and laws hidden somewhere. We have a much greater access to this space than we are typically led to believe. Our minds are only so big, however, and cannot handle such a massive amount of information. To nature, though, infinity is not a problem. Human perspective, we represent the motion of matter using laws. While nature contains this motion in its pure form as an infinite number of causes and effects. Broadly speaking, data about every possible material object in its path along the infinite number of points is stored in a field of information, which we will refer to as the alternative space. I know this sounds a little scientific, but I promise you I will break it down to what you truly need to know. So, there are an infinite number of lifelines or life tracks and destinies as well for each person in the alternative space. So, we have no reason to resent our destiny that we currently have because we have been given the ability to choose another if we desire. Our only problem is that we don't know how to do this. Anyone can connect with anything they have ever wanted in this world, but this ability has been lost by most over time. Reality Transurfing teaches how to reconnect with this ability. In all areas of knowledge, the world appears to us just the way we want to see it. For example, idealism claims that the world is an illusion, and the world agrees. Materialism claims the opposite, and the world has nothing against that opinion either. People argue amongst themselves, imposing their opinions on each other, while the world shows that they are really all right in their opinions. Well, isn't that awesome? The alternative space obtains everything, and we can pull whatever we intend to have directly from this space into the material world, including evidence to support theories about ourselves, our environment, and the nature of our reality. We have the power to take from this field exactly what we choose. But first, we must reacquaint ourselves with the ability to do so. So to summarize, reality can be manifested in an infinite number of ways. The diversity of variations is the foremost and fundamental quality of our world. The informational field contains potential variations for every possible event. Any world model represents but a fraction of the multiple ways in which reality can appear. So I am going to get onto a statement that if you can adopt and really connect with this statement alone, it has such mind-blowing ability to really connect you with another reality of your choosing. And I will break it down to how exactly you can use this statement to create a new reality for yourself. And it's actually very, very easy to do. So the statement is that there is evidence to support all theories. Okay, so again, I'm going to read a little bit of my clinical breakdown here of this statement, and then I'm going to break it down on a more practical level. So the mind of man is constantly striving to resolve ambiguities. It really wants to shatter one theory to pieces only to idealize another. Basically, this is what scientists do, century after century. However, after each struggle for the truth, one fact remains on the battlefield. Any theory is nothing but a separate piece of the manifestation that is our multifaceted reality. Okay, so this is where reality transurfing really shatters our conventional way of thinking. We are led to believe that there is a right way to think about something and a wrong way, or there is a right answer or there is a wrong answer, or that one theory is right and another theory is wrong. But what reality transurfing is offering us is that because the alternative space is so incredibly vast and infinite in nature, that there is literally evidence to support any and all theories. Okay, so why this is relevant to especially this beginning lesson and the basis for your reality creation practice. This statement is going to help you do two things. It is going to help you to conserve energy by feeling the need or the draw to argue other people's perspectives or theories or points or beliefs, and to begin accepting that everyone, whatever theory they adopt, will be right for them. Because again, there is evidence to support all theories. So nobody's wrong in the transurfing modality. Everyone's right. The second way that this is going to help you is that you now have been given a golden key to create a new theory for yourself. This new theory could be anything. It could be a new version of you. I want to be somebody that talks on stage in front of thousands of people, right? Or I am going to be. Or I want to live a life of working remotely and spend my time laying on white sand beaches. This is the theory that I'm going to create for myself, that variation of reality does in fact exist, and that's going to be my new theory. So in doing this practice, in developing a new theory for yourself, you really gain the power, you harvest the power of being able to tap into another variation of reality, because remember, there is evidence to support all theories. So if we are to look back on the information that I've just given, the any world model represents but a fraction of the multiple ways in which reality can appear. And the information field contains potential variations for any event, right? Or the diversity of variations is the foremost and fundamental quality of our world. And reality can be manifested in an infinite number of ways. Then you get to choose. You get to choose which variation you want. And there is an infinite number of them. The alternative space is really just a very fancy way of saying the universe or everything outside of us. It contains everything that has been, is now, and will be in the future. It's where all ideas come from. It's where inventions come from, languages come from. It is a massive structure of data that we have the ability to tap into and harness for our own agendas. So this is really what you need to know about this lesson, that this vast information field is available to you for you to pull evidence to support any new theory that you want to create about yourself. And in doing this, in adopting a new theory for yourself and building a connection with the alternative space, you will see as you move through this material how your world will connect you with exactly what you need to connect with to materialize this new theory that you have created. It could be anything. Again, it could be you doing something that you've never done before. It can be you having something like a new home or money in the bank, or having a grand adventure. You know, maybe you go traveling the world for a year. But first, the theory has to be established. Then you follow these concepts and allow that theory to materialize. So to get back to the lesson, any branch of knowledge is based on a chosen aspect of the manifested reality. Again, the word choose. This is so valuable in the transurfing modality. We will come back to the power of choice a lot. So each theory is supported by the time during which it was developed, and therefore it has the right to exist. Any view of life works in the same way. If you have decided that fate is something predetermined, something that you were not in a position to change, then it will be that way. In that case, you willingly put your life in someone else's hands, and it doesn't really matter whose. You turn into a little paper boat that follows the waves of the sea, bending to their will. You have lost control of your little boat in this scenario. If, on the other hand, you believe that you shape your own destiny, that you consciously take responsibility for everything that happens in your life. If not, you are struggling with the waves. Keep in mind that your choice is always made into reality. What you choose is exactly what you get. Whatever worldview you adopt, it will be the right one. However, you should know that others will disagree and argue with you simply because they are also right in whatever worldview they adopt. So I'm going to go now onto the definition of choice. Again, this pops up a lot in the reality transurfing modality. Transurfing offers a fundamentally different approach to achieving your goals. You make a choice, just the way you would place an order at a restaurant, without giving it a second thought to the means used to fulfill your order. Your wishes won't come true, but your choice is an immutable law, and it will inevitably be realized. What choice making is all about would be impossible to explain in a few words. The whole of transurfing is about what choice is and how to make it. So to summarize, your choice is always made into reality. What you choose is exactly what you get. So why is it that the worldview you adopt becomes true? Because all worldviews are simply a choice that are manifested into your reality by the laws of attraction. Okay? Now I'm going to go over the definition of lifeline or life track. A human life, just like any other matter in motion, is a chain of causes and consequences. A consequence in the alternative space is always situated close to its cause. In the same way as one follows the other, the near-lying sectors in the alternative space assemble into a lifeline or a life track. Scripts and decorations of the sector found on the same life track are more or less uniform in their quality. The human life moves evenly along its track until there is an event that introduces a substantial change in the scenario and decorations. Then fate takes a turn and crosses over onto a different lifeline. You are always on these tracks, the parameters of which correspond to your thought emissions. By changing your attitude towards the world, that is your thought image, you cross over onto a different lifeline that has different alternatives for the development of events on your current lifeline. Okay, so I'm going to again break that down into a more practical way of putting it. But to summarize quickly, waves of thought energy materializes potential variations. A variation consists of a set and decorations. When parameters of thought energy change, you move to another lifeline. You can't change the script of a variation, but you are able to choose another one. Don't fight for happiness. You can simply choose a variation that you like. Okay, so the way that I like to look at this, again, I'm going to give an exercise at the end of this that's going to help you make the alternative space seem very, very close to you and very familiar, kind of like your friend or God, if you believe in God, or something very close to you that seems like you could reach out and grab it. It won't be so vast in nature. And the idea of lifelines, I'm going to give you a little visual here that helps me really connect with this concept in a way that's digestible for me. So there are an infinite number of lifelines in the alternative space. That means variations of reality that we can experience. So if you're driving your car down the street and you are going to, let's say, a doctor's appointment, okay, and you make a right towards the direction of the appointment, that variation of reality is experienced because of your choice. Now, if you were to go up just a little bit further and let's say you missed the right you were supposed to make and you turn down another street, then that variation of reality looks slightly different because you made a different choice. So I like to view life tracks in a very, very basic sort of way. There are so many options, an infinite number of them. But what I like to envision is that I have a set amount, let's say 10. And the top track is the best one that I can experience on any given day. And the worst one, let's say this is me not able to get out of bed because I'm so depressed, is the bottom one. Okay, that's number 1. And I like to view them as linear lines sort of stacked on top of each other. These are all the different variations of reality that I can experience in a given day. Okay, so to get back to one of these summarized points, the waves of thought energy materializes potential variations. So if I can manage to keep my thought energy high, okay, like if I can really focus on keeping my thought quality very high quality, a very, very high level of thought energy. Let's say that I believe my world is giving me the absolute best. Everything's going my way. I am going to connect with everything that I need to today to help me realize my intentions. That I am going to experience luck and fortune and positive encounters with other people. And I choose to focus on what's beautiful in my life in that current moment. Let's say if it's even just some visuals, like I'm walking down the street and I see flowers and I see a little girl playing with a puppy dog and she's happy and she's smiling. Or I see something else that maybe looks promising, maybe a retail space for lease where I can run my business. Whatever it is that I can focus on that's positive, I get to move up those lifelines to that number 10 line, right? I get to move up and experience a higher and better quality variation of reality in that day. Now, we will get more into the wave of fortune or the wave of success later. But when you get to that top level, that is where you experience the beautiful cascade of pleasant events and good fortune, which we refer to as the wave of success. That's kind of like our transurfing treat, if you will. That is our reward for practicing these concepts. So the space of variations, or the alternative space, is really about understanding all of the infinite number of ways that you can access reality on any given day, and making choices that connect you with a theory that benefits you and your life, rather than a theory that does not. So if you decide that the world is harsh and you don't like the conditions of your environment, or you believe you're being treated unfairly, and your thought quality is lower in nature, that is going to put you in contact with information, material, and evidence to support that theory that's not a desirable one, that will put you down in the levels. So you'll go down to like level 1, right? This is depression. This is anxiety. This is you feeling as though you don't have many options. Life doesn't have much to offer. Woe is me, all that sort of stuff. So it's really quite simple, actually, to connect with a variation of reality, a parallel universe, a higher life track, however you want to say it, simply by adjusting your thought quality. Now, when you fuse that with action in the direction of a new theory and tuning your frequency to match what your intention is, then you really get some positive effects. But we'll get into that more later, particularly in the slides chapter, and inner and outer intention, and goals and doors as well. So to summarize here, again, waves of thought energy materializes potential variations. A variation consists of a set and decoration. So again, if you're driving down the street and you miss your turn and you go down another road, things are going to look different because you are on a different lifeline then, and the set and decorations look slightly different. This can be, you can imagine how this plays out in any sort of way, right? It really boils down to a choice, and that choice puts you in contact with real material and metaphysical material in your reality that makes things appear differently to you on your current lifeline. When parameters of thought energy change, you move to another life track. You can't change the script of a variation, but you are able to choose another one. Don't fight for your happiness. You can simply choose a variation that you like. So to conclude here, according to the concept of the world as described in Transurfing, we've learned that reality has an infinite variety of forms of expression. This means that there is an informational structure that contains an infinite number of potential possibilities. Possibilities of the material manifestation of the world and its way of working. The alternative space can be represented as a tree with infinite number of branches and leaves, where each branch, a script, refers to a specific variation. From this lesson comes the first golden rule of reality transurfing. The emission of the mental energy induces the material manifestation of the option. This means that the thoughts we are broadcasting without us noticing it takes us, our material reality and our destiny, on those lines or sectors of the alternative space that literally meet our thoughts. According to Transurfing, we cannot change the script, meaning we cannot modify properly the sector of the space of options in which we move, but we are able to select a different scenario and move to another track of options simply by changing the parameters of our thought emission. Okay, but we are going to get more into this. There are many lessons to come, and I am going to walk you through it 100%. We have some questions after this lesson, if you would like to answer them, and I'm going to leave you with a bit of homework now. This is an exercise that I have given in almost every seminar that I've done, that I've participated in, because it really does help to create a very close connection with the alternatives space in a way that you will feel like it is your treasure chest that you can reach your arms into and pull out what you need to connect with the variation of reality that you intend to connect with, okay? So the homework is this. Create a visual representation of the alternative space in your mind with words or with an illustration. So you can just think of it, you can write something, or you could even draw a diagram or some other sort of illustration. And I will give you a few examples. So Vadim Zeland actually has some examples too in the book, and these are the ones that I like to fall back on. One of his examples is the menu in the restaurant. You could envision that the alternative space is a menu, and you're walking into a restaurant, sitting down with the menu, and you get to choose what it is you are going to order. The other visual that he gives is you are in a grocery store, and you're walking down an aisle with a shopping cart, picking what you would like to take off of the shelves. I've heard things like the space of variations is the space, or the alternative space is the space outside of our atmosphere. And the different life tracks are different planets. And I'm in a spaceship, and I get to travel around to these different options and land and experience that version of reality. I've heard things more domestic, like the alternative space is a clothesline out in the sun, and the different life tracks or lifelines are clothes hanging to dry in the sun. And I get to take one down and put it on, and that's the variation of reality that I get to live at that moment. So there's lots of different ways that you could structure this in your mind where you could feel a connection with it, like it's more digestible, it's smaller, it's closer to home, because our mind likes that that closer connection with a concept rather than it being some big vast concept that's a little bit challenging to grasp. So in doing this homework, you will really start to gain a sense of how to use this concept of the alternative space to help you create a reality of your choosing today, and how you can connect with this space to choose one of the infinite numbers of options, variations of reality that are available to you. And with the lessons to come, we will break it down exactly how you can get that variation of reality to materialize for you in your current life. So stay tuned for lesson 2, pendulums.